keeping up with everything going on in your business while freelancing is a job in itself. So today I want to talk about some of the best softwares that you can use for your freelance career. Invoices, marketing, and notes. There's all kinds of different tasks that can be simplified using different software. So let's go ahead and hop in and talk about some of the different softwares I use. There's a lot of tasks that can be simplified using the right software. And on top of that, most of the ones that I use are actually free. What's up, guys? I'm Kris Risner, a product photographer and freelancer that's been freelancing for the last 4 years. In those 4 years, I've learned a lot about business and I've used a lot of different softwares that have helped me keep my business running. As a freelancer, one of the biggest things that you're going to be doing is sending invoices and estimates. So a lot of people would recommend getting QuickBooks to do all of that, except for QuickBooks can be really expensive, especially if you're just starting out. So what I've been using for the last couple of years is called Wave. It is pretty much free. The only thing that they charge for is if you're doing like payroll stuff, or if somebody is paying your invoice with a credit card, they do charge a fee. The fee is actually pretty reasonable. I think it's the same as QuickBooks, so I've never really minded, and I personally don't pass the fee on, so it's just not that big of a deal to me. Going back to what Wave does well though is estimates, invoices, and tracking your expenses. So that's pretty much all I use it for. Is I send out estimates. Whenever they get the estimate approved, I approve that invoice. I'm able to send the invoice out. The client is able to go into that invoice and they can pay using their credit card or bank account. Each invoice has my billing address at the bottom, so they can send me a check if they want to go that route, but I actually prefer them to pay by credit card so that I get the money quicker and I don't have to worry about hounding them for an invoice. I also track all of my expenses using Wave, so I'm able to add receipts to it. I can go in and categorize each thing, so at the end of the year, whenever I need to do my taxes, I can literally just print out a profit and loss sheet and it'll break down everything, and I just hand that to my tax person and they handle all my taxes for me. I haven't found a reason to use QuickBooks over Wave. Now, after we've sent out our invoice using Wave, we do a creative session. So during this creative session is kind of where you're getting all of the details for your shoot or website or whatever it is that you're creating. I highly recommend taking notes during a creative session because you're always able to go back to it. And that is why I use an app called Notes. You might have heard of it. It's on your iPhone. It's a built-in app. I've actually found that the regular Apple Notes app is honestly better than anything like GoodNotes or anything like that. I've tried using a bunch of different notes apps hoping that they would do better, but I just keep going back to the regular Apple Notes. I do have a 12.9-inch iPad Pro that I take notes on, so I'm able to write them all down into the Notes app and keep track of them on all of my different devices. I can't show you all of my notes for obvious reasons, but one of the big reasons why I like doing it this way is because I'm able to create one big note file for each client. I just create a note with their business name and then I take all of their meeting notes on that app and then I just scroll down and take more notes. So if we do 20 meetings over the course of a project, I've got all 20 meetings on this same note. I don't have to go searching through notebooks or searching through file cabinets or anything like that. It's all right there for me to look back on. And like I said, I use the Apple ecosystem for everything that I do. I'm Apple and Canon till the day I die, my guy. But that also means that I have all of my notes available on each of my devices. So I can look at it on my phone, my iPad, my computer, whatever I have, I'm able to look at it. Speaking of keeping things available and easy to reference, let's transition to Google Drive. So Google Drive is where all of my files live. Literally, my entire operation runs off of Google Workspace, which is what the email is called now, and Google Drive. And there's a few reasons for that. So first off, whenever I was looking for a cloud service to use, one of my big things was I wanted to be able to access the files from my computer without them keeping the files directly on my computer. So like, for example, if you use Dropbox, they just keep a folder on your computer with all those files. I've got like 2 terabytes worth of files, so I can't have those crowding up my hard drive and making my computer run slower. I just want to be able to access them quickly. So that was a big reason why I chose Google Drive, because they have the companion app that it literally treats Google Drive as if it's another hard drive. I can actually work directly out of Google Drive with like Photoshop files and stuff like that, and I haven't run into any issues yet. Knock on wood, because I don't want to run into issues. Cloud services aren't perfect, so I do also keep backups of that, but that's for a completely different video. But what I do want to talk about with the cloud is being able to share with people. So that's a big part of running a creative business is you're collaborative. You're working with a lot of different people. I'm able to share all of my files to anybody that's working on the project using Google. Google is pretty much one of the biggest services out there. And on top of that, Google actually does play nice with Outlook. So you're able to give Google access to just about anybody. I'm able to share all of my files from like Google Docs or Google Sheets with the client. And then I can also give them like a folder that they can upload files to. For this next one, I actually don't have a creative transition to it, which is kind of ironic because it's the creative software. This next software that I recommend everybody having is Adobe Creative Suite. Sorry, it's called Adobe Creative Cloud now. Creative Cloud. Let's get it right. Now, as much as I hate Adobe, Adobe is the king of creative programs. Anybody who tells you to replace Adobe with Affinity products has never had to actually collaborate with another creative. The Affinity products are absolutely great for amateurs, but if you're a freelancer and you're making money from these softwares, you have to use what the majority of the industry is using, which is Adobe. The monthly subscription fee, while a lot of people hate it, is actually pretty accessible for most creators. And that also gives you access to a ton of different things. So for example, I use Audition, Adobe XD, Photoshop, Illustrator, and definitely some of those other mobile apps. I can't think of them right now, but like Spark and things like that. I use all of those programs pretty often. If I had to buy those separately, I wouldn't be able to do it. That would be expensive. I mean, Photoshop alone was like $1,000, and then you'd have to do that every 1 year or 2 years. You'll notice I didn't say Premiere Pro though, and that's because Premiere Pro is trash. Listen, Adobe, it's just you and me. Just you and me. What is going on with Premiere Pro? I would love to be an Adobe fanboy. I would love to, but I can't. Premiere Pro is trash. It doesn't work on Macs. It's super slow. It's constantly breaking. I mean, I shouldn't have to have the absolute most like crazy insane Mac setup to be able to run Premiere Pro for fucking 8-minute videos. You're one of the biggest creative companies in the world and you don't have a good video editor. The most important software on this list though is a really good project manager. So there's a bunch of different softwares out there. There's Trello, there's Notion, there's Monday, there's ClickUp. There's all kinds of different project managers that you can use. And what's important is finding one that works for you. Personally, for me, ClickUp has been the best option. So I was using Trello before, but the problem with Trello is that there weren't a ton of features that I could use without having to buy an upgraded program. And I would buy the upgraded plan just to use like 2 or 3 features. Like the big one for me was being able to schedule, like put alarms on subtask. I feel like that's a type of feature that should be included on every project manager. ClickUp, on the other hand, lets you create all these extra dates. It has just a ton of features all for free. They do have upgraded plans, but I haven't run into any issues with the free version. And I actually have like 3 or 4 spaces with a ton of different lists. I do all of my social media planning on it. I do all of my commercial projects on it. I do all of my outreach. I use List to kind of control how I'm doing outreach. And I handle all of that stuff using ClickUp. ClickUp is kind of like Trello and Notion had a baby. It's a lot easier to get started than the Notion was, but the main focus of ClickUp is still the list and kind of like boards the way that Trello had it. I really like being able to create resource pages in ClickUp where instead of having to create a card that's just resources, it's literally just like a Word doc where I'm able to add all my different resources to it. I plan on doing a video later to kind of show you how I set up my ClickUp, but the point of this section is that we really want to get a good project manager. That is going to be what keeps your business running and how you're going to keep track of all the different due dates. I mean, if you think about it, there's a ton of different aspects to running a business, and finding a good project manager is going to make it a lot easier on you. With that being said, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next week.